My name's Catherine, and I've been working with Cursler now for about 5 years. I was one of the first mentors that Cursler actually recruited, so I was part of the first wave. Before that, I'd been working in film and television and a little bit of radio, mainly as a writer, also as a director. And before that, I worked as a documentary maker. And I think when I was working in documentaries, I made quite a few films about people who'd, I suppose, fallen on rough times. People who had been, for whatever reason, in the care system and in the criminal justice system. And I was constantly feeling that I wanted to have some kind of input into that world. And although that wasn't going to be my career, because my career was as a writer-director, I felt that there was something that I wanted to do because I felt as though the criminal justice system wasn't doing enough to help people to reach their full potential or to find ways of expressing themselves other than through behaviour that got them into trouble. I find it rewarding to be a mentor. One is the idea of giving something back, I think. I mean, I've had a very lucky life in the sense that I've had people who've believed in me and who've helped me. And that's just because I happen to be born into a particular family and a particular social group. And so I've had great people who've had faith in me and have nurtured me along the way. And I suppose it just feels that it's right to put some of that back for those people who didn't have the good luck that I had. I think also as a creative person working, particularly as a writer, you can sometimes find that you get quite isolated, and you can start going round in your own little ever-diminishing circles of work. And I think doing something like this, working with people that I would not normally encounter in my everyday life, and finding out more about what happens to people in life and how society works and how individuals work, I actually find that really beneficial for me as a writer. The first time I met my first mentee, I was a bit scared because I thought he might not get anything from me, that I might not actually be able to help him. And I suppose, actually, to be honest, I was a little bit scared because I knew that his offence was quite a major one. And although he had been released, there was a little bit of a sense that he was from another world because he had committed quite a major crime. And then, of course, he was sweet as anything, and we got on really well. And he was actually very talented. He had a really lovely way of writing. He had a really simple and touching way of looking at the world, and I found him quite inspiring. Yeah, I think it's not. If I start to mentor somebody, I don't think, oh, I'm going to change their lives. I'm going to wave a magic wand. It's going to be like a Hollywood film, and they're going to be. Next thing we know, they're going to be on talk shows, being super successful. And it's not my job as a mentor to change somebody's life. It's my job as a mentor within Cursler to work with them and help them in the work that they're doing, in the creative work that they're doing. I hope that the change comes from the work that they're doing, and my job is to help them with that, not to change them as a person. Gained a lot of insights into other people's lives and into my own feelings about criminal justice. I think I came into this because I have strong feelings about criminal justice, and actually working with people have made those feelings just as strong. So my belief that in rehabilitation is stronger now than it was even before. I suppose there was a danger. I might have thought, no, it's a waste of time, rehabilitation, lock them up and throw away the key. But I feel the opposite of that. I feel even more strongly that there's still a lot to do in criminal justice to make it work for everybody, for society as a whole. I find it important when I'm working with an ex-offender to forget about the fact that they're an ex-offender for as much of the time as possible. Once we've established those parameters, once we've established that it's a professional, discrete relationship and it's not a personal relationship, then it's important to focus only on the work that they're doing. When I did the training, the mentoring training with Koestler, there was one thing that they said to us about every half hour through the several days training, and that was, don't get over involved. Don't get over involved. And that's, I suppose, another way of saying the same thing, that for me, I don't get paid to be a mentor, but I treat it like a job, like a professional job. So I make sure that I'm turning up on time and that we behave as we would in any kind of professional situation. And it's not a personal thing. It's not about me helping this poor person who's having a rough time. It's not about me lending them a tenner to get home or anything like that you would do with a friend. I'm not their friend. And I think that that's the way that it works well, is if neither of us pretends to be friends. It's just a job. I would encourage anybody to be a mentor because I find it really fulfilling. I find it fascinating. I find it really rewarding. And I can't see why anybody wouldn't want to do it, to be honest. Anybody who enjoys their own work, and we're talking about arts mentoring at the moment, anybody who enjoys their own creative work generally wants to share that with other people. And to see progress being made by somebody, whether it's a student or a friend, or in this case a mentee, is really rewarding. And very often, the people who come into the mentoring program as mentees, they've had very little input from other people. They've had very little training in the arts. They've had very few people who've been able to recognise their talent until Koestler does. And then once Koestler says, actually, you do have a talent. It doesn't matter where you've come from. You've got a talent and we're going to focus on that talent and nurture it as much as possible. Then it's great. The best progress that my mentees have made, one in particular, I was really happy because he didn't need to see me anymore. He was just doing his own thing. He'd set up a website, he was setting up a little network of other writers. And I think I just helped him to gain confidence at that time when he could have just let it all fall away a bit because he was quite bruised by the idea of having been to prison.